Hello again, and welcome to the St. Louis Blues Hockey Legends Podcast. Tom Calhoun here to shine a light on the stories of those instrumental in blues history. The Blues Legends Podcast is presented by Sarah Honda, O'Fallon, Illinois. Check out all the great deals and their 618 Sarah Bucks offer at sarahhondaofallon.com. Our participating sponsors are Shane McGranahan, Country Financial. Call Shane at 618-476-3366 for all your home and auto insurance needs. And Southwestern Illinois College, your community, your college. On this episode, we visit with a man who was drafted second overall in the 1979 NHL entry draft. He would be the highest draft pick ever for the Blues until Eric Johnson was taken first overall in 2006. Perry Turnbull had 2 tours of duty with the Blues in the 1980s. He was a big, strong winger who didn't mind the rough stuff of hockey in that era. You'll hear that he's a great storyteller, too. Thanks for listening to our visit with Perry Turnbull. Coming in 60 seconds.
When it's time to find your next car, what's changed in your life? What's driving you to start the process? What are you really looking for? These are the questions we're asking at Sarah Honda. We believe in real communication, real problem solving, and trustworthy long-term relationships with our customers. We're part of your community, and we want you to be part of ours. At Sarah Honda, the experience drives everything. You've got a lot going on in life, and you depend on your car to get you to places you need to be. So when it's time for maintenance or repair, we know you need it done fast and done right. Convenience and quality customer service with team members you can trust. That's what you're looking for. We'll get you safely back on the road and back to your busy life. At Sarah Honda, the experience drives everything.
And on this episode of the Blues Hockey Legends Podcast, we're going down memory lane with Perry Turnbull. Perry, welcome aboard.
Good to be here, Tom.
Glad you could spare some time for us to reconnect with some of the Blues fans out there that might be too young to remember the Turnbull era back in the 80s with the Blues. So let's start off. I like to do a little bit of setup and get some background, some history of my guests on this podcast. You were born in a place called Bentley, Alberta. I did a little research, and they're telling me that it's a small town in central Alberta, population 1,072, about halfway between Edmonton and Calgary, right? What was life like there?
Well, it was life was great. We didn't know any better at the time, so every day was wonderful. But when I was a kid, there was only 900 in the town. You see how much it's grown after you done your research. It's still a little town, and it was just something. I mean, you grew up, you knew everybody in town, and it was a close-knit community and wonderful place to grow up.
Yeah. Was it like a farming community or bedroom community? What did they do there?
It really was. It was a farming community, and the town was small in one street, and we had a school and a hockey rink and a curling rink and then the dance hall. That was about it. A couple bars and a couple liquor stores, and we were good to go.
Yeah, sounds like a great little place. So tell us about the family a little bit back when you were a kid. What was mom and dad and the rest of the family like?
Well, my mother and my father. My mother had 2 restaurants in town. My dad owned the plumbing shop, and so it was always busy. And I had a brother and 2 sisters, and every day was another adventure.
Your siblings still alive, still kicking?
My brother's passed, and I have a sister that's 13 months older than me, and I have a younger sister that's she'll be, I think she's going to turn 60 this year, so 7 years younger.
They still up in Canada?
Yeah, they're still home, right in my hometown.
Okay, good deal. So talk about the current family life a bit. What's going on with the Perry Turnbull family?
Well,
I know
I met a gal here in town and got married in 1983. We had our first child in 86, my son. And then in 89, we had a daughter. So my son is currently still playing hockey at 40 years old over in Europe. And my daughter works for a company here locally, and both are married. My son has 3 kids. My daughter has 2. And everybody asks me how my kids are doing. I go, really, really good. We'll see how long it lasts. But it's been great. It's been good.
So you got to keep up with the grandkids now too.
That's fun. There's only one boy, but my son's 2 older girls both play hockey. So and my grandson's only 4, so he just started skating.
Hmm.
We'll
So
see if we,
Travis got in a few games with the Sabres back in the day, right? And then
yeah,
he wound up over in Europe, and he's still playing. You say, huh?
yeah, he finally got up and got some games in with the Sabres, and then they had the lockout, and everybody went over to Europe at the time, and he went over there and went from being a checking, running into people and using his fists once in a while into actually scoring some goals. And when he analyzed it all, he said, Dad, I can make more money over here and actually get to play the game or play a lot more minutes. So he thought it was a good place for him, and I thought it was a good fit. And so it's been a long journey. He's been over there for 14 years, and it's been fun.
You ever get over there, or does he come home occasionally?
I actually played over there at the end of my career,
Hmm.
not in Germany, but in Italy and Switzerland. And
Yeah.
and so I had a little bit of background on that stuff. And I've actually only been over there once. But and that reason is I tell everybody I don't want to be more than 20 minutes from my doctor. But, but the truth is, um, it's just a long ways to go. And I get every game on TV. So I haven't missed it. So it's great.
There you go. So, talk about your business a little bit. We talked about that a little bit as we were setting this up, but uh, give us some details about how things are going business wise.
Well, I mean, originally I had opened up a travel agency here in town, and as I saw the internet build and stuff, I got out of that industry and got involved with some guys, and we ended up opening up a roller hockey rink at Queenie Park. And over the year, I mean, it's just me left now, but over the years, we just went from being an outdoor facility to enclosing it, and there's a bar in there now and all the goodies. But it's been 33 years in July. It'll be 33 years that we've been in operation, and business is good, and um, it's been a great starter program for some of these kids to get a chance to play hockey, and if they showed some skills and some attributes to play the game, then their parents were more likely to let them in and play ice hockey. As everybody is aware that a lot of people get scared from playing ice hockey because of the cost and the time commitment.
Hmm.
But so it's been a good feeder program for the ice hockey kids, and we've got I think there's 18 kids that have played through at Midwest Sport Hockey that have played at least one game in the National Hockey League. They're all local kids, so pretty pretty happy about all that.
Sure. And a lot of people will remember that you were the coach, one of the coaches, at least, with the St. Louis Vipers roller hockey team back in 94, 95.
Yeah, we started out. We started in '93. The program did, and I actually played the first 2 years,
Hmm.
and I had Bernie had listed me as the assistant coach. Bernie was the coach and general manager,
Right.
and so a few years later, we got into it. Got to this point where Bernie had enough on his plate that I stepped in to coach. So I coached the next. I guess there was one year that we missed, but I coached 94, 95. Well, 90. We missed one year, so 94. I coached 5 years. 99 was the last year, And fortunately, we won the championship that year, and it was a good memories.
Good way to go out, huh? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about your playing career a little bit. What was your early exposure to the sport of hockey? You remember the first time you put on a pair of skates?
I do distinctly. I had my dad had mentioned to me that Tim Wilton was out there skating, and he was the same age as me, and I should go down there. So they put me on a pair of skates and put me in some hockey gear, and I went down to do the learn to play deal, and fell down and got a bloody nose, and um, that was my start. And it didn't deter me. My dad really liked it, so I thought I'd try it again, and wasn't too long where I could compete at a decent level. And as time went on, we don't have a lot of kids in town, so I became one of the better players, and found found it to be something that I really desired to do.
Yeah, and that's the key for so many kids. Falling in love with it is kind of important to getting out of the small town and making it big, right? So, Dad was the influencer getting you started.
He really did. And once you're involved, all the kids that you go to school with, I mean, there was 17 kids in my class, and half were boys and half were girls. And so you played with all those guys. You grew up with them, and played minor hockey. And as I got a little bit older, I was able to. I was lucky that I had some decent size and I was a decent skater, and so I was. There were we had so few kids that I was able to play my age group and the next two age groups up. So the
Played a lot.
coaches didn't know that when I got here, but I never practiced. They they were quite aware of it after I got here. But
So, part of your uh, junior hockey career was with the Portland Winterhawks. How'd you wind up there, and was that a good experience?
well, I got Tom. I left home at 15. I was went down and played in the Crow's Nest Passes in the Alberta Junior League, and I was in the Calgary Centennials organization, who were in the Western Hockey League, Western Canadian Hockey League at the time.
Mhm.
And I went, so I got sent down there, which was their tier two team. And I played there for a year and then started the next year, and I had some success. And then I ended up getting called up to Calgary Centennials, where fortunately the puck went in for me. And I was one of two of the youngest players in the league at that time at 16. And um, the next year at 17, at the start of the season, I had a pretty good start. And Portland, Oregon, had made an offer and traded for me. So I ended up going down there and playing there for the remainder of my junior career.
Yeah, so then the amateur draft comes along in 78, 79, and you were the second overall pick in the amateur draft, right behind a guy named Rob Ramage, who was picked by the Colorado Rockies. Yes, there was a Colorado Rockies back then. They
Yeah.
started as the Kansas City Scouts, moved to Denver. They wound up in New Jersey. Now they're the Devils. So Rob Ramage up first, and then came Perry Turnbull. What were you thinking when you were drafted second overall?
I didn't know. It was an interesting year because the draft was on August the 11th, and that was a year that the WHA merged with the NHL,
Right.
and there was a lot of talk, and you'd hear stuff, and I had the only thing that I knew that if I was still there at the fourth pick that Washington Capitals had, they were going to take me. We heard some news that Colorado Rockies were taking Rod Ramage. They needed a defenseman. St. Louis Blues needed a defenseman, and if they got one, they would consider me. Was the word, and so we sat there and we waited and we waited, and it came time. The time came, I got the call, and I was taken by the Blues. They got a defenseman. They traded with Edmonton and got Joe Micheletti.
Mm-hmm.
So that they were comfortable. They had Joe as a defenseman, and they could go ahead and take me as a forward. So that was kind of the draft. And you don't know. I mean, I always say to myself, and I tell Joe too, the Blues needed a defenseman, and they picked Joe, and they picked me, and they could have had Ray Bork.
I was going to bring that up. Ray Bork was drafted, what, eighth, I think, by Boston.
Yeah, he was seventh pick.
Seventh pick. Yeah.
Keith Brown was the sixth, and yeah, we had a couple guys that were pretty special players over the years that were defensemen. But you don't know at the time. You don't know how kids are going to grow, or so they just take what they feel is about that best athlete for the position they're looking for.
Hang in there. More with Perry, including his story about a run-in with a Golden Gloves boxer on the other team, after these messages from our participating sponsors.
Home is more than a place. It's full of the people and moments that matter most. Providing for loved ones, expanding your horizons, or simply living the life you love. With all you have to protect, choose insurance you can count on, so you can experience more of what you live for. Country Financial. Experience more.
Call Shane McGranahan, taking care of all your insurance needs in Missouri and Illinois. With the new Career and Technical Education building at the Southwestern Illinois College Redbud campus, students have a place where hands-on training meets real-world experience. Meet Hunter, a proud SWIC alum who studied welding and turned his skills into a successful career.
My experience with the SWIC welding program was super hands-on. It really showed me all the technical aspects of the welding. Having a program like SWIC with the affordability like SWIC, it's unmatched.
So you jump right in with the Blues and had a pretty good first year. 79, 80, I think it was. 80 games, 16 goals, 19 assists, 35 points. Pretty good rookie outing.
I think it was a very subpar for a lot of the other guys that were in that same draft. And had a lot better success than I had. And I didn't play a lot of minutes the first half of the year. It was just one of those deals where it just wasn't a good. They couldn't find a good spot for me to fit. And when Barclay Player got sick and Red Berenson took over, I know that Red had wanted to send me to the minors to get some playing time, and he was told that wasn't going to happen because I was the first rounder and find me a place to play. So he brought me in the room and said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to put you on the checking line. I don't care if you score another goal this year, just don't get scored against. You need to learn defensively." So I played with Larry Patey and Mike Crombie, and for most of the next 3 years, I did play with them, and they were really good defensively, and it gave me a chance to kind of cheat a little bit, and had an opportunity to play with them. And that year, the second year was a much better year offensively. So I was disappointed in my first year, and second year was much better.
Yeah, 34 goals in 75 games in 80-81. So that was a team that was really loaded, man. And a lot of people still talk about that team as one that could have won the Stanley Cup. And, how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, you never know, and you sure hope you could. I thought we could compete with anybody. Highlanders were awful good that year, and we had some good matches with them. It was, you have injuries at the wrong time. It's just such a hard trophy to win, and you can see through, what we went through, and then we're like, hey, well, next year though we're going to be better, and then some of those same things happened again, and you kind of wonder. And I mean, I was at one time in my career, after being traded to Montreal, I was in the semifinals, and that's the closest I ever got to the Cup, and a pretty exciting time. But
yeah, it was. Those were very, very exciting times. You had Fedorko, and you had Babbage and Pedersen and Dunlop, Zook, Tony Curry. A lot of people forget about Tony. He was a darn good player too. Blair Chapman. Yeah. So you were a pretty big guy. You mentioned your size a little earlier, and you didn't shy away from the fisticuffs either. If you Google Perry Turnbull, a bunch of videos come up of you fighting Terry O'Reilly and other guys of the time. That was just kind of part of the game, right?
Well, that, or obviously you could figure it out that I wasn't that smart to be fighting those. But I had quite a few penalty minutes in junior, and when I came in here, I still remember the day that I heard that Bobby Gassoff died, and you never know, and you should never say anything. But I went, well, I didn't know him, I knew of him and stuff, and I said, I hate that happened, but at least now I won't have to fight him. And then it ended up coming here and having to do a little bit of that that he was missed for. So
Yeah, the Gassoff accident happened in '77, so that was before you got to town, and uh,
sure.
yeah. So we had Bobby Jr. on a few podcasts ago and went through that whole thing. That was just an awful tragedy. But
Yes.
let's not dwell on that too much. Let's talk about Rob Ramage was drafted ahead of you, and I said I Googled your name, and a couple of fights come up, and there's one there with Rob Ramage. So you went round and round with Rammer at one point.
Yeah, well, he was. I just wanted to make sure that they didn't think he was number one. No, I'm just kidding. Rammer, it was just one of those things. We actually fought twice in the same game,
Yeah.
and uh, and it was just one of those things where I took a pretty good run at him, and he said, "I'm here all night," and it was just go. So we did.
Yeah, it's part of the game. Part of the game, especially back in those days. You had to be able to fend for yourself a little bit. So after a few years with the Blues, you get traded to the Montreal Canadiens, and Doug Wickenheiser, Greg Paslowski, and Gilbert Delorme come to the Blues in that deal. What was your thinking when that happened? Were you surprised by it all?
I really wasn't. I'd actually gone into the office and said, I'm going to buy this house. You guys, I'm hearing all these trade rumors. I won't buy this thing if you guys, oh, we're not going to trade you. Don't worry about it. I bought it. 3 weeks later, I get a call. We're in Boston, and my roommate was Rick Hines, which I'd never roomed with.
Hmm.
And I get a call, and he's a backup goaltender, right? So
Right.
I get a call at 2:30 in the afternoon, wake me up for my pregame nap, and it's Ron, come and see me in my room. So I come to the room, and I told Heinze before I left the room, I go, I'm traded. He goes, no, you're not traded. And I said, well, why would he wake me up? So I go down to the room. Mr. Karan goes, come on in. I got to talk to you. And he goes, one time I had to tell Frank Mahovlich this. And he said, we've traded you. And I said, you traded me? I said, who'd you trade me? I said, you traded me? Yeah, to Montreal. I said, well, who'd you trade me for? Well, we don't know just yet. I said, well, are you kidding me? You traded me? You don't know who it was for? And then he explained to me the three guys, and I stomped out of there, and I said, well, at least you didn't give me away. And in the end, it was really a good trade for the Blues at the time. And I ended up spending a lot of time in the summer with Pazzer and Wick, and we become really good friends. So
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, Wick would go on to play on that Monday Night Miracle team, and then he got sick and unfortunately passed away with the brain tumor and such. But you were in your fifth season with the Blues when you got traded. All of those guys were pretty young. They were in their early 20s when they made that deal. And so, they were, I guess, Mr. Karan was betting on these guys developing into something, and, they did.
yeah, no, I mean, I was 24 when I got traded, and
Mm.
Wick was 23.
Okay.
So he was just a year behind me
Okay. All right.
and Delorme was a year behind me too, and Pazzer was they were all 22, 21, 22.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good trade for the Blues. That's all. I mean, I tell people that all the time. I wish it wasn't for me, and we could have had them, and I could have played more with them. But I ended up on my return back to St. Louis. I ended up playing with both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get to that here in a second. But you played only the one season with the Canadians, 40 games or so, and then what was that experience like playing in the mecca of hockey up there?
Well, I went up there, and I went up there with a little bit of a bum knee, and I had the Blues here. I can't say they set me up for the trade, but they put me in a pretty good position. I was playing the power play all the time, and I had put some points up, and I went up there, and I was kind of limping around a little bit, and they cleared me that I was going to be okay, and I just couldn't get my feet underneath me up there, and then there was an awful lot of pressure, and it didn't matter what I shot, it hit the post or missed the net, and just didn't have a lot of success. And then during the playoffs, I took a run at Peter Stastny in Quebec City. We were playing them, and I missed them and hit the boards, and I bruised my kidney, and I was peeing blood. And anyway,
Man.
they sat me out. They sat me out for a game, and I'd never been sat out in my life, or hardly ever missed a shift, and I wasn't very happy about it. So I explained to the general manager that I would be there for the guys till the end, but when the season was over, it would be time for me to move on. And
So it's on to Winnipeg for 3 years. How was that experience?
it was good. It was really good. But just a front line going into it, Tom. So one of the reasons was our tax rate here had just gone from 50% to 39%. And in Canada, I was paying 61%, and there was no write-offs. So I'd been down here, and I had put together some stuff, and there was some tax dodges and stuff like that. So financially, for me, it wasn't a good move. And so that's kind of part of the reason why I said that I would like to get traded. So in the summertime, we get a phone call, and I'm talking, yep. And when I get off the phone, my wife looks at me and kind of sees something's up. He goes, "Who was that?" I said, "It was John Ferguson from Winnipeg. He just traded and got me there." "Well, that's in Canada. Tell him, do you want to be traded?" I said, "Honey, I already used that card." So we went to Winnipeg, and Winnipeg was really a good team. Like, we're a good hockey team. If it wasn't for the Oilers, I think we would have had a chance to run a little bit further. But the Dale Howardchuk was a fantastic player, and we had Paul McLean was up there. That he'd come from here, so I knew some of the guys. And Randy Carlisle was a Norris Trophy winner. Our goaltending was pretty good, and we were close knit. It was a small town and close knit team, and we had some toughness and had some good goal scoring. So the first 2 years I played up there. Last year I was basically injured, but it was really a good place, and the fans were wonderful, obviously, and to have a town that small to be able to look at, come to the game and fill the rink every night was pretty neat.
Yeah, and they wound up losing the Jets, and now they got them back, of course, for another go around, and they're really a great hockey city, as you say.
Yeah.
But you back to the Blues in the 87-88 season. How did that all come about, and how was that second tour of duty with the Blues?
Well, it's kind of funny because I had gotten a fight in training camp in Calgary. So Dan Maloney was the coach at the time, and I was about 6 pounds overweight when we came into training camp. So he says to me, "You're going to play every exhibition game." We had 11 exhibition games. And so here I am. I'm the first shift of this game. We're in Calgary, and Bill Derlago sets me up, and I score a goal. We go back to the bench, and I said, "Hey, Bill, I'm going to play one more shift with you. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, then I'm going to go visit my folks. And so I went out there and I shot the puck in between a defenseman's feet. And when he looked down for it, I just barreled him over. And it was a guy that people were talking about. He'd come up from college hockey and he was a Golden Glove boxer and all that stuff. And the guys are talking about him in the room. And I go, Golden Glove boxer? Who goes to Harvard? Golden Glove boxer? I don't think so. I said, I'll go out and fight him. So I went out and I did that. And unfortunately, trying to cheat a little bit and get off the ice, he dislocated my shoulder in the fight.
Oh my goodness.
So I basically sat out that last year. They did snuggle me in there for some games, but I was all tied down. My shoulder was tied down. I couldn't punch if I had to. Now I got guys getting their evens on me. It was not very much fun there. So at the end of that year, the Blues had tried to trade for me at the trading deadline, and I found out about it. And so I went to John Ferguson, who was the general manager, who was wonderful to me. And I said to John, I go, hey, John, can you trade me home? He goes, kid, you know what? I'm going to get fired anyway. So he sent me back here. And it was great. It was great to come back home. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. I mean, I really didn't have a whole lot left. I had one arm and I wasn't what I should have been or could have been.
Well, you scored 10 goals that year, and that was my first year full time with the Blues as the PA guy. So I had to announce a few of your goals that year.
I maybe I don't remember if I got any at home or not.
Well, I don't have any recorded, but I was there for the whole season. So unless you scored them all on the road, I got to announce a few of them.
But no, it was a trying time, be in and out of the lineup, and I get it. And I was like, at the time, our coach was Jacques Martin.
Yeah.
And so I actually went into one time and I said, hey, listen, you got three of us here. You got your first rounder, and you got Dougie Evans, who was your star that played for you in junior, and you got me. There's three guys fighting for one spot on the fourth line. And I go, none of us, you put one guy in one game, you put another guy in the next game. I said, this is probably going to cost me 10 games, but you need to play a guy. Give him 5 games, give him 7 games, give him 10 games and see how he can do, then make your decision. Well, so I knew I was in the stands the next game, and they started out with Dougie played 2 games, and then they took him out, and then the next guy goes in and he plays 2 games, and then it's my turn again. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how it went that last year.
Yeah. Well, you still had some gas in the tank because you played in Europe those last 4 or 5 years of your career. How'd that go for you?
Well, it was good. It was interesting because it was a little bit of a different game. I could still skate, and it was the rinks are bigger, and obviously the players weren't the quality that you have over here. So for me, I had some pretty good success there, and I never won a championship. Unfortunately, we lost in the championship my last year over there, and I come home and went to work and started the rink, and great to be a kid from St. Louis now.
Yeah. And you mentioned, and you referred to St. Louis as home. You're one of the many former Blues players who decided to make home here. What was it about St. Louis that swayed you in that direction?
Well, I just think it's similar to we're all of us prairie kids, and the Canadian kids grew up pretty conservative. People were really nice. And at the time, before Brett Hull came, you could go anywhere, go to the restaurant and stuff. No one bugged you. They might say, hey, can you sign me in my hat or whatever? But it was a great environment to be in. You could go anywhere. Everybody was your friend, and you got everything here. You got golf courses. You got, it was just a great place to be. And all the guys married girls from here. A lot of the guys married girls from here. And I think there's 56 or 58 guys living here now.
Yeah.
And that's pretty impressive.
That is. And of course, everybody refers to the fact that a lot of those former players helped the next generation and the generation after that. And that's why we've got so many St. Louis kids in the NHL these days.
Yeah. Well, so, I think that there's some truth to that. And I want to thank all those guys. I did it. It started out years and years ago, and there was no facilities here. Mm-hmm. We're short of facilities, and now that all that stuff has come to fruition, you've got all the guys that coached here, Brownie and Al McGinnis, and all the guys that all the way back to John Winsink and Blake Dunlop when it all started, and now the guys today, and they're following through and doing this stuff. They've done a wonderful job of getting these kids the information that they need, and now we have the facilities for them all to get enough time on the ice to learn what we're teaching.
I'm glad you mentioned John Wensink's name. I had a chance to chat with him at the Puck Cancer event for Kelly Chase the other night, and what a great guy he is. I'm going to have him on the podcast here real soon, too.
Yeah, he's awesome. Johnny's awesome.
Yeah. Couple of things before we let you go, if you don't mind. Pro athletes usually pay a price for their sport, physically speaking. What kind of issues do you continue to deal with?
Oh, I'm absolutely perfect.
Are you? Good.
I've had some stuff done, a little bit of shoulders, and I had a couple ankles replaced, and had my knees done a little bit, and it just is what it is. Hands get sore in the cold, and
yeah.
But to be honest with you, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That was my next question. You don't have any regrets about that?
No.
So I always ask this of my guests on the podcast, how would you like to be remembered? How should people think about Perry Turnbull when that name comes up?
God, I don't know. No. Everybody has their own opinion, right?
Yeah.
I think that I played pretty hard and decent teammate, so I think I should have been able to do more, and some of that comes with the situations you're put in. So,
you mentioned you never won a championship. I guess that kind of eats at you a little bit, right? Yeah.
I won one at Brentwood in the senior league one year.
That's going to have to be good enough, I guess. Yeah. Well, Perry, thank you so much for your time on this. I appreciate it very much, and all the best to you. And hopefully that business keeps on trucking the way you want it to, and we run into one another somewhere at a Blues game. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it, Tom. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for being with me for another episode of the St. Louis Blues Hockey Legends Podcast. We'll have another legend coming up soon, so stay tuned to our social media for news on who that legend might be. Visit PAGuyTom.com or BluesHockeyLegends.com and sign up for our Legends email notifications. The Legends Podcast is also available on the Scoops Sports Network at scoopswithdannymac.com. Video of the podcast is published the Monday after the Friday release of the audio. As always, please like and share on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It all keeps the Legends Podcast alive and well. Tom Calhoun here saying thanks for being a fan, and let's go Blues!